one of the first things I read about Brian was that he was bursting into a therapy office mid-session.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that says a lot about a person.
Yep.
Anybody who's willing to
Just
break into
march in a private session.
interrupt a private session.
Yeah.
It's a very major character attribute.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about who he was from that.
Just from that.
He's big.
Welcome to the Warner Brothers Lot. I'm Jonathon Buckley, and this is A Lot More. Classically trained and truly hilarious, Michael Urie brings so much joy and heart to his character Brian in Shrinking, and we're beyond delighted to have him join us in the studio today. Michael Urie, thank you so much for coming into the podcast studio
Thank you,
today.
Jonathan. Great to see you.
I know you're busy with lots of press, and you're right in the meat of the season as we shoot this. We're up to about episode 8 as we shoot the podcast today.
Okay.
Shrinking. An emotional roller coaster ride for me. And I don't know about for you on the other side of the camera, but wow, you guys are you're taking us to high highs and low lows.
I think that's the idea. That's the plan. And if you're feeling that, if you're laughing and crying in the same moments, then that's what we're trying to pull off.
It's working.
I'm jealous actually because obviously I watch the show. I mean, not obviously. Some people wouldn't watch their own work on screen.
Some people don't.
Some actors don't like to watch themselves, but I do like to. I like to watch it, but it's always like a little bit of deja vu because it's been long enough since we shot it that I don't exactly remember what happens, but it's familiar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, reading the script is the same, I think, sensation as watching the show for you would be.
You're discovering the story.
But by the time I watched the show, I read it.
Yep.
I lived some of it.
Yep.
And then time passed, and now I'm seeing it again. And so it's an interesting sensation. Sometimes, like I watched the latest episode last night, and I was like, have I seen this? Or did I just live it and read it? And it's a weird sensation.
Do you have little or big watch parties when you're in the season?
No, I don't do that. I don't have watch parties. Now that you're saying that, I kind of wish I did.
I feel like I'm sure your friends are into the series.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yes, friends definitely like the show, but no, I haven't had a watch party, and I think it's like it is a little bit vulnerable. So maybe that's part of why I haven't encouraged. Like I'm a little bit vulnerable about it. I don't want people looking at me while I look at myself. I don't know.
That's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
It's something I understand, but as you have a theatre background, would you invite your friends and family to a theatre show?
Oh, sure, but I have way more power.
Okay.
Because I'm on the stage and they're just tiny little people in the audience.
Tiny little people.
But if they're in my living room,
okay.
I noticed this with my parents, watching TV with my parents, you'll just say whatever about the people you're looking at.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't like his face.
Yeah.
Or that's a horrible dress.
He shouldn't have done that. That's terrible.
Or she's aged horribly. You know, like those kinds of things. And like, even though obviously if I was throwing a party and all my friends were in my living room watching my TV show, they wouldn't say that,
Yep.
but they might think it. And I might feel them thinking it.
You might see a furrow in the brow.
Yes.
And be like, oh.
Like I was watching something with my parents and I heard them say something like that. One of those like, you know, like he hasn't aged well at all or something like that. And I was like, oh damn,
no.
Paul Mary Francis. What are you saying about me, mommy and daddy? But, so yeah, I think maybe, I never thought about it, but I think maybe that's why I have not ever thrown watch parties for my stuff.
Because Ugly Betty, you used to...
What'd you call me?
No.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
When you were on Ugly Betty, you would watch your own tapes. I read some of this online.
Okay.
That you would watch your own show to sort of inform your performances.
Yes,
to learn. As we mentioned, there's not a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of actors that will sort of sit back and be like, I can't, it just drives me crazy. And it can be really, really difficult. So you find a lot of value in that.
I learn from it, yes. Sometimes I don't like it.
Yep.
You know what, I would rather watch myself acting than being interviewed.
Interesting.
Like, as much as I love your podcast,
Yes.
I will not watch this.
Okay.
Because I will much sooner judge myself for that than for bad acting.
Okay. So would you say that it's easier to play a character and then watch yourself as a character because you're judging the character as opposed to just playing yourself and being yourself?
Yeah, 1,000%.
That's so interesting.
Is that weird?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that makes total sense, and I have experienced that myself as well, so I totally understand.
Do you watch your show back?
No.
Not at all.
Sometimes I have to. They say, like, can you take a look at this? And I'm like, but I do feel the same. It's hard. And
it's weird when it's like, why did I say that? And that's not grammatically correct, or just spit it out, or what's wrong with your hand, or why is your face doing that? In a TV show, it's like, well, that's all Brian. I could just like, well, that's because Brian's ugly.
That's because Brian
Brian has a funny face and a funny way of speaking. But back in the Ugly Betty days, I did watch that more than I watched. Like, I would watch it more over and over again.
Okay.
Because I was learning. I was like, why is this scene better than this scene? Or this is Jason Segel's favorite thing about me. In the early days of Ugly Betty, before I had never done really anything.
Aside from training at Juilliard.
Yes, yeah, right. I mean, I went to drama school at Juilliard, and I did do some theater. And I had done one pilot, 2 commercials, and like maybe 1 independent movie before Ugly Betty happened. And then suddenly I'm in 22 episodes a season. Like, it's like serious work. Long hours, lots and lots of scenes. Because I come from the theater, because I was in drama school and then did a lot of theater before Ugly Betty, I was used to acting like that. And for a long time in my early years as a professional actor, I would get told, do less, or bring it down, or dial it back. These are all versions of the same thing, which is you're not in the theater right now. You're on camera right now.
Part of that training is that you're projecting that to the
back of the house.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you need to not just speak loudly, but you can't rely on your face to tell a story. Like when you're in a close-up, when the camera's right in your face, all you have to do is think and something will come across.
Yes.
But you can't just think on stage unless you're in a really small theater. I mean, you can do, but so you can, like if you're on stage alone and you don't have any dialogue and you want the audience to imagine what you're thinking, you can do that physically, but you can't just do it on your face.
Yeah.
If you're in a close-up and your whole body is acting, it's a waste. And if your whole body is acting instead of your face, then it's not helping at all. So I was told a lot of the times to do less. And because I'm, I do a lot of preparation and I do think about what we're doing a lot, I was always like, do less of what? I'm doing 10 things over here.
Yeah.
And really what they meant was, play to the camera, don't play to the audience. The other side of that is that because on stage, when you're acting on stage, you want the audience to see the most of you.
Yeah.
You generally don't turn your back to the audience. You like cheat out. They call it cheating out. Sometimes depending on what it is, depending on how realistic it is, you might not. But for the most part, you're not acting with your back. There is sometimes you are, and we call that backting, and it can be really effective. But it's also like if there's no microphones, if you're in a theater where you're not mic'd up, there's no amplification, then you really do have to face the audience and project and hit the back of the house and all that stuff. So anyway, when I first started on the Ugly Betty, I was still used to cheating out, cheating to the audience. And, for example, what we're doing right now, there's 3 cameras. And this is my shot, but we would only do one at a time. When you're making a TV show, you only do one of those at a time, maybe 2, but generally it's one at a time. You're not going to have all 3 of these going at the same time, probably.
Yep.
They're usually going to move the whole camera around, and so we would be doing just this one scene, you and me talking, and every time they'd move the camera, I would cheat to that camera. So it would be like
making sure that
yes, I would, and then I would see it back on TV, and I'd be like, why am I always facing the wrong way? It didn't look like a human being. It looked like some idiot from the theater who didn't know how to work in front of the camera.
So you could spot that, and that helped you.
I could spot that, and I realized very quickly, that didn't last very long, but I realized very quickly, oh my God, I have to stop cheating to the camera. They moved the camera behind me on purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's not my shot anymore.
That's
and
so
I have
funny.
to stop like turning to it. Jason Segel loves that about me.
Well, I feel like that big energy that you had to project in the theater really sort of benefits Brian in the show because he's so big in the show. Like he has such big scenes and it's such a high point. I talked about highs and lows earlier. Like when you come into it, you bring so much energy and I love that about the character.
Oh.
Just an observation.
Oh, thank you. I take that as a compliment. And
it's definitely a compliment.
And it's, I mean, I'm lucky that there's a character like this.
Yeah.
And when I first got the job, when I first got the audition, one of the first things I read about Brian was that he was bursting into a therapy office mid-session.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that says a lot about a person.
Yep.
Anybody who's willing to
just
break into
march in a private session.
Interrupt a private session.
Yeah.
It's a very major character attribute.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about who he was from that.
Just from that.
He's big.
Do you remember that whole process way back in the beginning, like how you found your way into the series?
Yeah, of course.
How did that transpire?
My reps reached out and they said, there's this project that's coming, that's around right now that people are casting and we've got our eye on it for you.
Mm.
And it stars Jason Segel and Bill Lawrence is the creator or the co-creator.
I feel like that would have been kind of exciting.
It was a very exciting.
All of that information.
All of that is very good news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I've been in the business long enough to not get excited about anything.
You know, run an even keel.
I don't get excited about anything until it's in the press or I'm on set.
Yeah, you've got the paycheck arrives in the mail.
Yes, right. Until it's, I mean, there's like a few big benchmarks and I've gotten excited at the wrong ones way too many times. So I certainly wasn't going to get excited yet, but I was interested, we'll say. And so I heard about it and then it went away for a while and I was like, and I did not think that much about it because it just sounded like yet another project, but a good one. I love Bill Lawrence's, I was a Scrubs fan. I was a Ted Lasso fan. So I was like, okay, this is good. This is all very good. And it was also like Ted Lasso was so hot at that moment. And I knew that Jason Segel had range. And we had met one time. He wouldn't remember, but I remembered because he was famous and so nice to me. It was at the CBS Upfronts when he was still on How I Met Your Mother. And I was doing a Warner Brothers show called Partners.
Oh, no, yes, that's right.
That didn't last very long, but it was very special. But anyway, I let that go. I didn't think anything of it. And then I don't know how much time, months pass, and they're like, okay, here's an appointment. We would like you to make a self-tape, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, interesting. I read the first episode, which was really good.
Yeah.
But Brian doesn't appear. He appears very briefly across the street. He doesn't have any lines. So I was like, okay, well, this is a really interesting show. How do I fit? How does someone like me fit into this world? And then I read the sides that I was to put down for my audition. And they were all, I found out later from episode 2, where you meet Brian and you get to know him a little bit. And so I was like, oh, this is how this guy fits in. He fits in very loudly and in fact bursts in, inserts himself. And so I made the audition. I thought it was really interesting, really good work. I made the audition. Ryan and I, my partner and I, put it on tape in our bedroom.
Oh, does he get a cut?
Yeah.
My wife helps me with my, she's always like, I get 10%, right? I'm like, you get all of it.
Yeah. Listen, and if you want to kill me, you can have the whole thing, like whatever you want.
That's nice that you guys do that together though. That's fun.
Well, it's generally better if we don't.
Okay.
Because we're both insane and I'm worse than he is. He's got a lot more patience than I do, but this one worked really well. The thing about auditioning is sometimes you have to audition for something and it's like, I don't really get this. I don't really know how to work my way in.
Yeah.
But this was such good writing from the get. And it was a role I was like, okay, well, this is something I could get. Like I could see myself playing this part. I could see myself in this world, which is another reason to like not get excited because you know, like the worst thing in the world in this business is to want something.
Yeah.
Because the second you want it,
it's like,
Yeah.
But sometimes these ones that come through though, when when the writing, you know it, you feel it.
Oh,
Like the
yeah.
writing's great.
Oh,
You felt comfortable doing the audition. You felt confident sending it off.
yes. I could imagine being best friends with Jason Segel. Like
Yeah.
all of this, I was like, I see this, I could see this. So I'm going to do my absolute best and I'm going to send it off and then I'm going to put it out of my brain. I'm going to do a Men in Black, boop, boop, boop.
Yep.
And I'm going to like make myself forget that it even happened. And then I did, and I put it away. And a lot of time went by. And then I got a message or a text, email, something from my rep saying, we got to get on the phone. There's an update about shrinking. And I thought, oh, okay, interesting. Usually my reps only get on the phone with me if it's good news or bad news.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can do it. And I was like, this is either good news or they have to explain why it's bad news. I have since said, just text me bad news.
Yeah.
There's no point in us all going through this awfulness.
You don't have to have that conversation.
You don't want to tell me. I don't want to hear it. So just text it. But we got on, and what I assumed was, like the next step, I made a tape, sent it away, and the next step is like, maybe you get on Zoom with people and they give you some adjustments, or they ask you to do another tape, or maybe they fly you out and you do a chemistry read to see if you are even compatible with Jason Segel. And because I didn't know these people.
Of course. Yeah.
My reps got me on the phone and they said, well, we really thought this was going to go to a test deal. And I was like, oh God, what happened? It went away. And my agent, Tim, said, no, you got it. And I was like, what do you mean got it? He's like, you got it. And this wasn't just a pilot. This was a series.
Yeah.
Like it was picked up,
It
10
was
episodes.
going straight.
So like that had never happened to me before.
Yeah.
I've gotten pilots before. I don't think I've ever gotten a pilot without auditioning, but I've gotten jobs without auditioning, certainly. And I've gotten pilots fairly easy. I've also had to like work my ass off to get a pilot. I mean, I did work hard on the audition, but I didn't have to recreate it. I didn't have to go to
Go again,
test.
go meet director's sessions,
Or,
all this.
or a scary screen test in front of the entire network or studio or anything like that.
Really?
I didn't have to do any of that.
That is so interesting.
All I had to do was make that tape and wait.
Yeah.
And then I got the job.
Okay.
And then I didn't meet anyone until the table read, the first table read, in which I had no lines because it was the first episode and I didn't say anything. So I was just standing there. And the coolest thing is that Bill Lawrence on that day, that's when I met everyone, including Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
By the way, Harrison, they didn't, until they said, you got the job, they said, you got the job. And they also cast Harrison Ford. And I was like, what are you saying to me right now?
That would be...
What is happening?
Because again, you already had all of the ingredients, but now you've got like the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what?
Wow.
So you're telling me that not only is this show a series, and not only am I on it, but now people are going to watch for sure?
For sure.
Like it's really going to get attention?
And you're going to be working alongside a legend.
And like maybe I'll have scenes with him someday? Yeah. So the table reads the first time I meet anyone.
Yeah.
And I honestly was like, did they make a mistake? Like, am I going to show up and they're going to be like, wait a minute, you're not Andrew Rannells.
We thought
we cast Jesse Tyler Ferguson. Like, what do they think when I show up? And then also, like, I'm great in the table read. I'm from the theater. I can do a table read. That's like a show.
Yep.
But I didn't have any lines. So I was like, what am I going to do? And Bill Lawrence gave me the greatest gift in the world. When we got to my scene, he was like, he's so cool.
Funny too.
And the funniest guy. He's just so cool. We did the table read and he was like, we're not going to go around the table and introduce ourselves. You know who we all are. So let's just read this. And so I was like, all right, well, we're going to get through the whole thing and everyone's going to be like, there's that guy on the end who didn't say anything. But we get to the moment where Jason's character sees me across the street and Bill is he's reading the stage directions. He's reading along and he stops and he's like, oh, wait a minute. There's another guy here who's a series regular on the show and he doesn't have any lines this episode, but that's how great this show is. We've got a series regular who doesn't have any lines and he's still here at the table read. And this is what happens with him in the show. Jimmy looks across the street and sees Brian pumping gas. And he looks at me and gives me the floor. I don't have any lines, so I have folded something up. I think it was a mask because it was still COVID days. I stood up and mimed pumping gas. And it got a huge laugh
Yeah.
that he just gave to me.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I was able to leave that table read satisfied.
Yeah.
You know, I would have left that table read thinking, okay, it went great, but I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't prove to anyone that I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
But with that little moment that I was able to pick up his cue, do this bit, get a laugh, I was like, okay, good. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Everyone knows who I am.
Yeah.
So now you didn't know anybody at the table read, but I get the sense, correct me if I'm wrong, after we're in the third season now.
Yeah. I know them
3
now.
seasons.
I've met them all now.
Yeah. It feels like you're all family watching it. Does that translate off screen as well?
Yeah. I mean, it is a really cozy, easygoing, low stress environment.
That's so nice.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's probably the lowest stress work environment I've ever been in.
Yep.
And I've had other jobs that were like pretty low stress, but like this is such a high profile show.
Yeah.
And it's so low stress is a testament to Bill, but also Apple and Warner Brothers that they're so like trusting of us, and Jason, because he's such an incredible leader and makes everyone, not just the actors and not just like the department heads, but every person on the crew, from day player to background actor, craft services, anybody, feel like their contribution is just as important as his.
Yeah. Harrison,
who's like a giant kid, and even though he's a legend and doesn't need the money, he treats the work so sacred, so sacredly, with such sacredness. See, this is what'll happen if I watch this back. I would hate myself.
It's endearing. I like it.
And we all get along. And there's also, I think, I had this when I was on Ugly Betty too. We're all wildly different people.
Yeah.
And all in different places in our careers. We all look different. We all act different. We're different people. No two people are alike. And we're all, because we're actors, we're all curious.
Yeah.
So we love each other. We're interested in each other. We root for each other. And we have each other's backs. And a good idea is a good idea is a good idea. And so I've never done a scene on Shrinking where I think my stuff is falling by the wayside. It's always like a rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah. And if your stuff's better, my stuff's better. And I've never been on a show where there was like 6 people like me.
Yep.
So I don't know what that would feel like, but my sense is I would be less curious and I would be more nervous around them. Or I would feel that kind of envy or competition. But I think part of what makes the environment so special and easygoing is that all of that stuff, that weird ego, actor, insecurity stuff, it doesn't come into play.
Yep.
There's no possibility of getting into anyone's lanes.
And all of the characters within the show as well are also so varied and different, and it's just which makes it so interesting.
Ted McGinley said something really interesting. He's been on so many shows over the years, and he said, sometimes you're on a show and you're on a show for a long time, or, like they need to get some information across, and they're just like, or like, they're like, Ted doesn't have as many lines. Let's just give him one of somebody else's line. Well, just you take that line instead. And that kind of thing would never happen on Shrinking because the characters don't speak the same.
Yeah.
None of us talk the same way.
Completely different.
Completely different. You can't just like give one of Krista Miller's lines to me.
No.
It wouldn't be right. Or give one of my lines to Jessica Williams.
One of your many lines. You have so many monologues.
Well, I do, yeah.
You have great monologues. Yeah. Very high impact, high energy monologues.
You certainly wouldn't give Harrison Ford a high energy rant like Brian has to speak. And that's a real testament to the writing, which is just like sacred to us.
It is so good.
It's sacred, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about Brian and your character? Because he oddly gives himself a bit of a hard time sometimes. I feel like you described yourself as a overbearing narcissist that I forget the line. I was like, oh, that was scathing, but it was good. So what makes Brian tick?
Brian has this thing that I think is so fascinating that we've dealt with every season in some ways, but to me, he sort of represents this thing that's so true in the queer community, which is before you're out of the closet, you're not your real self. You know, like coming out of the closet is an admission. It's a revelation to others, and it's coming clean in a lot of ways. But the person you have to be when you're in the closet is not only a liar, but a fake. So like you have to lie about your sexuality, and you have to fool everyone into thinking you're not that.
And it's not just anyone either. It's the people that you care about.
The people you care about the
you're
most.
Closest to.
Yes, exactly.
Oof, yeah.
Jason and I had an amazing scene that I was so proud of in season 2, where I asked him if we met today, would we even become friends? Because when we met, I was straight.
Yeah.
Quote unquote, straight.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. It's a very, very, and it's not something that I feel like it has been seen a lot. And I was triggered, this is wild, but I was triggered by heated rivalry, which I loved. Because there are scenes where before the guys are open to anyone or out to anyone, where they're lashing out at the people who love them the most. Right. And it's authentic and real and like beautifully done. And it was upsetting to me.
Yeah.
And because it's real. So like, I'm glad it was in the show, but I don't like that. I don't like that that's a thing that we have to do. Yeah. In the queer community. And it's kind of like, and it's not just, it's code switching essentially. And it's a survival instinct and a defense mechanism, but it's also not good for us to have to do that. Yep. So that's the guy, that's who we're looking at. We're looking at somebody who was pretending to be something he wasn't till college. Yeah. Which is now, like with the new generations, that's a long time. But that was not that long for someone of Brian's age, my age. And I think that is the beginning of, that's when so in some ways he's a kid, right? Because he had a rebirth when he came out of the closet. Yeah. And that's what we all do. And so I like that it provides him with this like really youthful energy and this and this arrogance that comes with being young. Plus, he grew up in Texas.
As did you.
As did I.
Yeah.
He had a very different life than I did growing up in Texas, but he grew up in Texas. He had a dad who wasn't sure about him and didn't.
I've enjoyed exploring that. That's been watching your father, the relationship with you and your father, particularly on the wedding day, which, by the way, the pearls were a beautiful touch.
Thank you very much.
I thought that was really cool. But in this season, now that you're having a child, which I particularly like, because I've just had a little girl myself.
Congrats.
And so
Girl
watching
dad.
So watching the series has been a real joy for me, because you've hit all the marks. I'm like, I see that. And I know what it's like to go through that. But to see your dad's reaction when you finally tell him is such a bright spot. And I'm like, his reaction is just
totally
perfect.
Totally.
Like,
and you get to see where Brian's dad has come around.
Yeah.
He was uncomfortable at the wedding.
Yep.
He showed up, he was there. And then he did.
It's nice to see his journey. I know people and families that have gone experienced a similar sort of thing, and it's so nice to see them become educated when it's somebody that they love that's finally sort of introduced them to this, and it's not this big scary thing anymore. It's like, well, yeah, he's awesome. I love it. Oh, okay, and seeing them learn and get better. I really like that.
You're absolutely right. It's like, empathy is easy when you love someone.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's you don't even have to try. It's organic. It's compulsory. If you love someone, you will talk yourself into anything with them.
Yeah.
It's when like your own fear, really it's fear, when your own fear overrides that love, that you can't be empathetic. Yeah. And because Brian is so wound up, he wrote this whole story in his head about how his dad would react to the baby.
Yeah.
And he was wrong.
There's some storylines in this that I absolutely adore. I think the drunk driver storyline was absolutely brilliant. I think that
you mean Lewis coming around and becoming part of the group, or the inciting incident of the whole show?
the inciting, and I think Harrison Ford's performance is both brilliant and heartbreaking.
Yeah,
and now this season you've introduced some other characters as well, which is Michael J. Fox. Having him on the screen again was just what a moment. What was it like to have him become part of the fabric of the show?
Bill had said that part of the reason they made Harrison's character have Parkinson's was because he had become so familiar with the disease through Michael J. Fox.
Okay.
Because Bill and Michael J. Fox did Spin City together all those years ago. And I think Bill was one of the first people Michael told.
Isn't that?
Yeah, because he knew, he didn't tell people for a while, but I think he had to tell his showrunner on Spin City, which is just it's like historic when you think of and we've all been watching his journey all these years and been so devastated and inspired by it, because look at him, he's still
great. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I wasn't sure if I was going to be heartbroken watching it, but I felt really hopeful watching it.
Totally.
Like, I think he does such a great job of just putting a brave face on it and bringing his personality to the role. I thought was really great.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to have to wrap up because I know you have to go spirit tunnel at J-HUD.
I got to stretch. I have to stretch.
You can warm up and all the rest of it. But season 3 is all about moving forward for so many of the cast. Brian included.
Yeah.
You've been greenlit for season 4, which congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you have any part of Brian's story that you're hoping to tell? I know you can't give us any information, but
I have no idea what they're planning.
Is there something that you would hope to explore as Brian?
It's a really good question. If you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I probably would. But anytime I've ever had an idea for what could happen on the show, it's bad.
I doubt that.
And I learned that it's bad when I see what they actually come up with, which is always very good.
Oh.
So if I have a thought, I'm like, I bet this is going to go this way. It's never the way that I think it's going to go. It's always a way more interesting way. So on the one hand, it's so clear, like, that baby's going to keep changing and going to keep needing and going to need more and more and more.
Yep.
And that's going to be a lot on him, a person who is a narcissist and has a lot of trouble putting other people before himself. Although we are starting to see him do that more and more. We first saw it in season 2 with Lewis, where he was such a helpful and in some ways inevitable entryway for Lewis to kind of come into the fold of this group.
Yeah.
And we're going to start seeing it, I think, with the baby and he did it with Charlie because he was so on the fence about having a baby and Charlie really wanted to. And so there's going to be more of that. I would love, I don't know. I am curious about, because Brian's work, he's this lawyer and he doesn't seem to, He's like sort of not a very serious person, but he can get things done as a lawyer. I mean, we've seen it with, at the very beginning, when we first meet him, we see him help Sean.
Yep.
And we've seen him help Paul, Harrison's character. And I like that. I like when he's able to go into that mode. And so I would be interested in more of that. I think it would be interesting if, I don't know. I've never really talked about this or really thought about this. I mean, I thought about it, but I've never really talked about it. But I would be interested to see more of how can he help the therapists?
I think he's, I think Brian's much deeper and more caring, at least this is from an outsider's point of view. Brian's much deeper and more caring than Brian gives himself credit for.
Yeah.
And so
Great.
I can't wait to see
that.
more of it. I love your performance. I've loved having you here in the studio.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait to see the season 4 and all your fabulousness and
Thank
your
you.
outfits and the costumes.
My hiking gear.
Is the best hiking gear.
I saw the latest episode last night. I watched it and I showed up hiking and I was like, what am I wearing?
But it's so good.
It's great.
So good.
It's totally great.
You have the best fanny packs.
Yeah. Shout out to Allison Fanger,
Bum
our costume designer, who always has some new incredible. I'm like, well, what do we got? What do you got me in this time?
That's awesome. Michael, thank you. You're a gem.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, mate.
What a pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.